Миний төлөө эх орон чинь юу хийж чадах вэ гэж асуухаас өмнө та өөрөө эх орныхон төлөө юу хийж чадах вэ гэж асуу. Young Xavier Rolet.
Сайн байцгаана уу хүнд үзэгчдээ. Манай өнөөдрийн de facto нэвтрүүлгийн зочноор Лондонгийн хөрөнгийн биржийн захирал ноён Xavier Rolet оролцож байна.
Лондонгийн хөрөнгийн бирж группийн гүйцэтгэх ерөнхий захирал. Xavier ажлын гараагаа 1984 оны 1-р сард Роберт Рубиний удирдлагадор Goldman Sachs баг компанид олон улсын арбитрийн албыг хашснаар эхэлжээ. 1990 онд тэрнийг Goldman Sachs International Limited Европын хувьцааны худалдааны 8-ны газрын дараагаар Лондон руу шилжүүлжээ. 1994 онд Credit Suisse болон First Boston компаниудыг хамтарсан Credit Suisse First Boston компани Европын хөрөнгийн газрын дараагаар орж ажиллаж байгаад Dresdner Clearwater Benson Erstl болон худалдааны газар ба дэлхийн түвшний хөрөнгийн газрын орлогч дараагаар 1997 онд очжээ. Xavier Францын эс хүчний сургуулийн сургагч дэслэгээр 1981 онд ажиллаж байгаад Колумбийн их сургуулийг бизнесийн магистр цолд 1983 онд дүүргэжээ. 2008 онд Парис дахь зэвсэг түвшний их сургуулийг мастер зэрэгтэй төгсжээ. Товч намтар 1995 онд IFR Европын хөрөнгийн оны шилдэг байгууллага Ротary сангийн олон улсын ойлголцлын тэтгэлэг Lehman Brothers-аас гайхамшигтай үйлчилгээ шагнал Lehman Brothers ерөнхийлөгчийн шагнал хандивын ажилд оролцсны төлөө Xavier нь Колумбийн их сургуулийн 70 чанд хорооны гишүүн бөгөөд дэлхийн солилцооны холбооны орлогч дараагаар Лондонгийн хөрөнгийн биржийн бодлогын зөвлөлийн дарга байсан ба Deutsche Börse-гийн Лондонгийн хөрөнгийн захын зөвлөгөөний хороо, Франкфуртын 2 дахь захын зөвлөгөөний гишүүн, Euronext Paris ба Nasdaq-ийн Европын хорооны гишүүнээр тус ажиллаж байжээ. Мөн тэрээр Европын холбооны үнэт цаасны мэрэгжлийн баг, Францын засгийн газрын анхаарал татах бодлогын зөвлөл, Америкийн худалдааны аж үйлдвэрийн танхимын Франц дахь хороо болон Gotham House-ын хорооны гишүүнээр тус ажиллаж байжээ.
Good evening.
Good evening. It's a pleasure being here. Thanks for having me in your program.
Well, you came with a special mission this time, probably to a certain way to end up your formality before coming to Mongolia to work. Tell us about the mission you are here now.
It's a mission that we've been engaged in for several months now, but we are about to formalize the announcement that was made a few weeks ago of a partnership between the Mongolian Stock Exchange and the London Stock Exchange to upgrade, modernize, and bring a real world-class framework to the Mongolian Stock Exchange. Modernization of technology, improvements to electronic access, particularly for individual investors, as well as modernization and upgrade to a world-class standard of things like compliance rules, listing rules, surveillance, and so on.
How do you find the current situation of the stock exchange?
Let me say that there is a very great opportunity. There's lots to look forward. Mongolia has a unique national and political governance. It is a functioning democracy. It's a consensually driven country. And you have a unique opportunity economically, given, of course, all the natural resources that are available. And the bit that we want to work between the top-level governance and what's underground is financial infrastructure. By bringing it to a world-class standard, not only will be making it, working with our friends at the Mongolian Stock Exchange, more accessible to citizens, investors who are based in Mongolia, but also to international investors who are looking to invest their capital in Mongolia and help the Mongolian economy grow.
See, we have been more money market-driven economy, more commercial banks. We had our capital market was not functioning to the extent we wanted. That's the reason why you are here. Do you think it will diversify capital market development in the country, the functioning of the stock exchange?
Absolutely so. You pointed out to bank finance. It's a very useful tool. But it's even better to have more than just one way of financing companies, of financing infrastructure spending, of effectively monetizing the natural resources. And what stock exchanges do is they provide a very cheap, efficient channel for investors to entrust their capital to entrepreneurs, to companies, or to government who are seeking to sell national assets. So it's an additional funding engine, if you want.
So the surplus unit in the society will have another channel now, other than just bank deposit, to invest in possibly with higher return on investment.
It's a diversification strategy. And the twist, the additional value that diversification strategy provides to the Mongolian people, to the Mongolian economy, is access to international capital, to investors who are located very far away and will now have an easier way to invest their capital in Mongolia, hence growing opportunities, helping to create new jobs, helping Mongolian enterprise to grow.
So what kind of a legal environment do you think? I mean, say you do everything perfect. Will it work? What kind of legal improvements you think? Obviously, without those environments, whatever the first-class machine maybe may not work. What are those things you think, your people think, that we should do it?
Well, the most important thing you already have. That's something very, very precious. You have a rule of law, consensual or consensus-based governance model. And many countries that seek to just acquire listing rules or world-class governance, but do not have that foundation with parliamentary authorities, legal authorities, the executive with clearly assigned functions, struggle at some stage. So you have the most important bit, which is the overall architecture. What we're looking to do, working closely with our friends at the Mongolian Stock Exchange, is to bring the actual technical regulation, rules about surveillance, rules about compliance, the regulatory environment, listing rules, to a world-class standard. So it's really a technical upgrade, effectively, or a technical modernization, but which is very important because it creates a framework for investment that all can understand, be they individual investors or very large institutions, and also foreign investors. Everybody is treated in the same equal and fair way.
Well, we hope that technically it will provide this fair, equal way of chance for everybody.
Well, we've been doing it for 210 years at the London Stock Exchange, and I think the opportunity in Mongolia is to use that experience, to use that savoir-faire.
Let's talk a little bit about London Stock Exchange before we go to other details. So you are in charge of one of the oldest and largest stock exchange in the world. How you ended up with your position? You have been working with Lehman Brothers, Goldman Sachs, what is this like there?
Well, before being an executive working for the stock exchange, I was a customer. So when you're on the other side, it gives you a very good opportunity to assess competitively where the best service is. And in particular, as you mentioned kindly with some of the investment banks I worked for in my past, I was responsible for global trading businesses, equity trading businesses. So I've had a range of experience comparing the way exchanges work, for example, in the Americas versus Europe, but also Asia. I've been involved with exchanges all my life. And that's important because when you go on to the other side, when you go through that wall, you can take with you the assessment of what is critical, what do clients, what do customers want first and foremost. And very much what I'm doing now is seeking to continue to improve the model to make it very workable, very friendly to our customers around the world.
What is the London Exchange is famous for? Like American for certain things, Canadian, Toronto, we believe this is more mining. You are with more foreign exchange. How do you define that?
We have several things. Of course, it is a great platform for companies to raise money, international companies, as well as a very, very important segment, which is often overlooked by investors, which is the small and mid-sized companies. This is an area that we're expert, in fact, world expert in. We have the largest and operate the largest pan-European government bond platform, as well as the two largest corporate bond platforms. So we are also a fixed income specialist.
Largest in the world?
Largest in Europe.
In Europe, okay.
It's a platform called MTS. So on the fixed income side, we also have that expertise of matching capital with pools of issuers. We operate the third largest derivatives and the third largest clearing platform. Clearing and settlement is another area in Europe. is another area that is often also overlooked, which is very important, and where I think here in Mongolia there's a real opportunity by bringing much closer together the exchange, the clearinghouse, and the depository and custody operation, by bringing them under the same roof to build a very efficient, very modern exchange, if you want, company or exchange infrastructure. So these are some of the things that...
Mongolian companies are listed with you?
They are at the moment. A very small number of Mongolian companies are listed on the London Stock Exchange. I think there's a potential, a huge potential, in fact, for these companies to list right here in Mongolia. And what we can do, and we believe will be critical in the future, is that we can bring additional capital in a cooperative, not in a competitive environment. See, Mongolian companies who list in other Asian exchanges...
The good synergy for them, huh?
Well, effectively, if they list elsewhere in Asia, the liquidity is going to go to Asia. It's not going to help build the Mongolian Stock Exchange. But in a faraway location like London, there is no competition. In fact, it's additive. We add additional liquidity. We don't compete with the Mongolian Stock Exchange.
So those companies listed in London Stock Exchange can have, Mongolian companies can also be listed in Mongolian Stock Exchange. Technology-wise, it will make it...
It will be the same technology. Very cheap, very efficient.
When the account of market capitalization of Mongolian companies say listed in London, later on in Mongolia, would it be added to each other, or?
Well, I think in terms of individual companies,
yes,
the capitalization will be an aggregate capitalization. But the way that Mongolian companies will benefit is that the investors are going to be different. So the liquidity is going to be much higher than if they were only listed in Mongolia. And that, of course, will benefit Mongolian investors as well as international investors.
Well, then, when, say, Mongolian Stock Exchange works in the way it should work, technically everything, infrastructure is there, then, say, companies who are listed in Hong Kong today...
can come back here to Mongolia.
Come back or dual listed?
Well, we think it's much better if they come back to Mongolia. Because an investor based in Asia, if they have the choice for the same company between two markets, the Mongolian market and Hong Kong.
Operating in the Mongolian market, yeah?
Yeah. Let's say an investor, let's say an international investor based in Singapore, and they want to trade a Mongolian company in Asian time. If that company is listed in Mongolia, in Ulaanbaatar, and is also listed in Hong Kong, the liquidity in Hong Kong is a much more liquid exchange at the moment. We want to change that. So they're going to invest in Hong Kong. So by dual listing in the same time zone, you're helping exchanges in Asia that compete with the Mongolian Stock Exchange to grow their liquidity using Mongolian companies. That doesn't seem right to us. What we want to give the opportunity to Mongolian Stock Exchange is to take those listings back and hold what we call the primary liquidity, which is the bulk of trading.
So that means instead of the people raising the capital there, they will raise here. Those who want to buy there can buy here because they have the same platform, same infrastructure.
Exactly. And that means more jobs, more analysts here, more traders, more researchers. That means the opportunity for Mongolian individuals, for the citizens, to buy the stocks here.
How many people, speaking about jobs, just work under you at the London Stock Exchange?
Oh, we're a very small company. We have at the moment 1,600 employees.
And yet you are the one of the... what is it, if you take a world capital market, how many percent?
We are the largest exchange in Europe, and we're one of the 3 largest exchanges in the world by market capitalization of listed companies. We're also very efficient.
Okay. So, is it true... the same what we talked about the listing in Mongolia for the government bonds of, say, Mongolian government bonds? They can list it, they can sell through our platform.
Absolutely. You could list government bonds here in Mongolia, in Ulaanbaatar at the stock exchange. That would give an opportunity for citizens of Mongolia to buy the bonds of their government. And you can do the same thing for companies. Companies could list. Now, it's going to take several months to get it done. We have a plan, a program over time to introduce these programs. But they would give an opportunity for investors, Mongolian investors, to buy the securities cheaply, electronically. And of course, that gives an opportunity to the government and to companies to place some of that important debt with Mongolian investors.
So the liquidity is here. It is sort of it's sort of more import if we are listed here. The government is listed here because all money and liquidity will stay here.
Well, the primary market. Now
Yes.
that doesn't mean that
Primary
you cannot
market,
also
yes,
list, let's say, in London
Uh-huh.
and tap into European or international investors. But the important difference is that it is done in a different time zone. So when the trading happens, if Mongolian securities, for example, are listed in London, when it trades in London, Mongolia is closed. So it doesn't reduce the activity in Mongolia. In fact, it adds. It doesn't compete with the market in Mongolia. That's very, very important.
Probably the connection with London of through you, because you are working here, then you are establishing the system here. Then if it is two markets is connected, then we are the working wider time zone.
Absolutely.
Rather than
It's
just
very
in
important.
one.
It's a very, very
Important
important
because when something is happening that drives stock, it is if it is in the same place, that is much better trade, right?
Absolutely.
Now, only a few companies are listed in the current Mongolian stock exchange, under 400 something. And plus, still many of them are not reporting. And just raising the other side of the issue, you say you create everything world-class. How many people will work in the Mongolian stock exchange after?
Well, we're going to start, there's going to be a team, and we're going to hire more. I mean, it will depend on how many companies come to the market, new products.
Correct.
We also need to work very closely with regulators, with the central bank, with the securities regulator, the FRC, with Parliament, because there are going to be introduction of new rules, new regulations that need to be approved by Mongolian authorities. So that will take some time. This doesn't happen in a month. You need to put together a set of new regulation,
Sure.
roll out the technology.
How long will you work here?
This initial agreement, partnership, is a 3-year agreement between the MSC
3
and
years
the LSE.
at least. And it can be extended after?
Can be extended,
Depending on how big volume you attract now.
depending on success.
Do you expect during this 3 years market capitalization change or increase substantially?
I'm very optimistic about the potential for expansion of capital values in Mongolia for the reason that, first of all, there's going to be some new issuance, so the market is going to grow organically. International investors are looking at Mongolia today, and I think Mongolians themselves are going to want to take advantage of that opportunity so that when opportunities come to the market, when the government privatizes these companies, Mongolians are going to react very positively to the opportunity to own a piece of the economic action in Mongolia.
The people invest in Hong Kong or London not because they have also perfect technical and people at the stock exchange itself. They invest also because whoever is listed there, they have such a legislation where they make sure that every information is
That's
true.
correct.
So
Very
how about
important.
that part?
That part, we will obviously use the designs of the London Stock Exchange, our listing designs, to make proposals for improvements. Obviously, this ultimately is the decision of the sovereign power of the Mongolian authorities.
Yes.
But we will make detailed proposals for new rules, introductions of sets of principles that we believe will be very beneficial to the market.
Well, only this will be the only condition where people will believe in Mongolia if every company's information listed in Mongolia are at least comparable with the world standard.
Well, that, for example, points towards an harmonization of accounting rules. Now, that's not under our control. We don't.
But however, we have to follow that rule.
But we will certainly propose, for example, an harmonization of accounting rules on the basis of, for example, the International Financial Reporting System, the so-called IFRS, which is becoming a universal system which investors are very comfortable with. So that would be certainly part of our proposal.
At the beginning, probably the major drivers of our new stock exchange development will be mining companies.
Yes.
Depending on their deposits. There is a standard which is required by Canadian stock exchange to be certain standards of exploration, a certain drilling, 43101?
Well, Canadian companies now and Canada, since the beginning of this year, have switched to the IFRS system.
Okay.
So there is now harmonization in terms of the governance, particularly accounting rules, and the Canadian markets are highly experienced investors, very skilled investors in the mining world, and of course, if our deal with Canada is approved, that is an additional set of investors that will be made available to the Mongolian.
So you're going to buy Canadian Stock Exchange?
No, we're not buying.
What do you mean?
There is a merger proposal, which is different.
London Stock Exchange and Toronto Stock Exchange will be merged?
It's actually it's a TMX group, which is a unique combination of all the exchanges in Canada. It's a derivatives, very strong derivative exchange in Quebec, a very strong Toronto Stock Exchange for the listings. There's a platform called NGX, which is an energy exchange run out of Calgary, and the venture market, which is a British Columbia, Alberta initiative, which is the small and mid-sized enterprise market. So that's on the Canadian side. They also own a majority interest in the Boston Options Exchange.
Yes.
And of course, the LSE group in Europe is the LSE PLC, Borsa Italiana, the Italian stock exchange, a number of fixed income platforms, and pan-European equity and fixed income platform. One is called Turquoise for equities, MTS for bonds, clearinghouse, a settlement house, and of course Millennium IT, which is a Sri Lanka-based IT and software company specialized in exchange technology.
That means, in a way, through you, we are accepting those culture standards.
That's correct. That's the idea.
Stock exchange.
That's the proposal.
That's wonderful.
That's the proposal.
Okay. And when the proposal will be a reality?
We hope that it will be approved and signed tomorrow.
By Canadian?
Here. I'm talking about our proposal here
with
the Mongolian.
Well,
in terms of the merger proposal between the TMX group and the London Stock Exchange group, it is currently being reviewed by Canadian authorities, and will take a number of months to go through the approval process.
That will be a unique infusion of knowledge to Mongolia.
Absolutely. In the mining area, extractive, commodity, small, medium-sized enterprise.
Exchange, which is more or less well known to Mongolian mining industry.
I think there
those standards are coming.
There are some Mongolian companies listed in Canada.
Mongolian registered companies.
Govisan, for example, and
foreign companies. Foreign companies, the Mongolian companies, if it's 75.
With operations in Mongolia.
Yes, this is in that sense of Mongolian companies. So you're sort of changing completely the landscape of capital market in this part of the world. No?
Well, the world is becoming a smaller place. And for companies like us, who are very partnership-minded, we like partnerships that operate in respect of all the players. This is a real opportunity.
There was, now let's go back to the stock exchange. There were certain announcements that some up to 50 to 70 Mongolians will be trained in the war in Europe somehow to be a part of Mongolian stock exchange. What is this about?
We have planned as part of this master agreement 10 weeks of training. I'm not going to go into the details. I'm not sure that will interest your listeners. But we will provide training specifically in exchange area from compliance regulation to facilitate the introduction of this new technology. It's very important.
Will they be certified, those who will study there to work for this?
Well, there will be a process, so there will be a qualification at the end, and depending on what the qualifications are. Some will be more formal, others will be more practical.
Tell us about this IT system. There were some remarks in Mongolia about the IT system, and give us a description of your IT platform of Mongolian Stock Exchange, future Mongolian Stock Exchange.
Well, actually, the IT platform itself comes from Millennium. It's a platform we already operate very successfully in Europe. It is extremely modern. In fact, is the fastest operating matching engine, as we call it in our jargon, in the world. Faster. And with greater capacity than any other.
Many transactions per second can be done at the same time.
And in terms of capacity as well. So it's a state-of-the-art electronic platform. Now, I suspect initially, in the initial months and years, the need for a super-fast platform is probably not going to be great. What you need is, of course, throughput and ability to tie in retail as well as institutional demand. But as volume grow, and as demands grow...
But this is a part of the program.
That's absolutely
the
part
same
of the program.
program, which like module, will grow
absolutely
as it grows.
It's be the same platform as we have in London, obviously adjusted for the specific requirements of the Mongolian market.
What are we buying it or franchising it, Mongolia? This
Well,
program?
it's a licensee, so you're acquiring the technology,
Uh-huh.
and then we'll maintain it for you, and we'll
Okay.
ensure that it is modernized and upgraded, throughout time as new developments.
Does this is the program cost is included in the program, the contract?
It's all included. Yes.
All included, good.
Yes.
Including the maintaining and upgrading.
The contract covers all aspects of not only initial supply but maintenance and upgrade for the period of the contract.
You said Millennium. This program is used in all your chains, in
Yes.
Italy and all around the world?
Yes, there are a number of exchanges we're in the process of migrating, but we also sell that technology, and it is available to other platforms, both in North America and in Europe, to a number of commercial operators, as well as some banks. I mean, it's obviously not matching engine technology, but we provide technology through Millennium to a number of retail banks, for example, who need processing software. So it's not only for exchanges. They're specialists in financial software and crossing and matching engines.
How do you find in general the world internet access of Mongolia, the cable and the speed? Will it match to the requirements of the new system?
I think this system is highly compatible. It was designed for wireless access as well as a combination with internet delivery through website. Now, of course, the matching engine itself sits in a highly secure data center, but it is compatible for electronic distribution, for example, in banking networks or in brokerage networks, so that ultimately clients who want to access their bank or their brokers electronically rather than coming physically on the floor of the exchange can do so through their providers, a bank, for example, which then is connected into the exchange where the matches are carried out.
See, some banks in the world, in the U.S., you go to your broker website.
Yeah.
You can have still deposit, even you have a credit card with the name of the broker. Yeah. Will this system work like this in Mongolia?
Well, we will provide the exchange.
Okay.
In terms of the actual distribution to the individuals, that is the job of brokers, that is the job of banks, and there are many competitors. That technology exists today. It's pretty cheap. Our Italian market, for example, is highly compatible with retail investors, with individual investors. But we will provide the core technology upon which commercial providers, we're not in the business, effectively, of covering retail investors. Those are basically covered by broker-dealers, by banks, financial intermediaries, insurance companies. We will provide that core, and those commercial providers can then connect their particular execution services onto the exchange. The exchange, if you want, is the heart.
So a Mongolian customer can do everything online, visit, invest, and buy, sell shares, and they can learn about their portfolio changes during a day, etc.
That is technology that's already available in the world. Where, if you want, the heart, where the matching happens.
I see.
And the banks and the distribution, the broker dealers are the blood vessels, if you want. Exactly, which distribute. So that, of course, is up to those particular commercial providers, depending on what products they want to cover, what technology they want to offer, depending on their business model.
Financial Times newspaper prints every day stocks, major companies, and all this changes morning and evening. Will our company will be able to print those outlets?
Definitely, and they should be either in the press or with banks, but ideally better than paper is to get it electronically. Okay. There are a number of providers already today. In your iPad, sir, for example, if you pick any of the application you can get electronic reports of any of these stocks.
That's great. Sounds perfect.
If you don't like to read newspapers and get your hands dirty.
Yeah, the more and more people. Half of Mongolians are under 35 years old. So this is a future market, I believe. If it is properly trained, it will be a sophisticated market.
It will.
Plus, the government is promising big shares to everybody.
That is not for me to comment on.
No, but what I'm saying is somebody said that we have become millionaire overnight, which I don't believe. But whenever they have money, there will be a chance to invest into Mongolian stocks, where we get true information with your help, with your IT, and hopefully with the other legislative issues to be taken care of. Then we will be able to invest.
We will provide the matching engine, the core IT. What you need then is to develop a financial services industry that will have all the applications so that individuals, investors, institutions can then retrieve it in the fashion that they want. And their choice and competition is very important. So you get the best possible service. But you'll have a core engine that will provide distribution of that data through all the usual electronic channels.
You are French citizen?
I am.
Oh, have you been to Army?
I was in the Air Force, the paratroopers, many years ago. I ended up as an instructor at the Air Force Academy in France.
Flying?
Yeah, flying. I was an instructor, actually.
What kind of aircraft you had?
Oh, at the time, these planes don't really exist anymore. There are jets that, this was quite a while ago. This was in the early 80s, so 30 years ago. These were small jets called Alpha jets and Fouga Magister. They're no longer in service today.
But do you have license?
Not anymore. I've not maintained it. There's many things I can't do anymore. The life of the stock exchange manager is quite a busy one. But I do enjoy flying.
You are one of those people who is spending half of their life on board of aircraft. How do you find it?
Well, I enjoy flying. And
yourself and you being flown.
I think the aeronautic industry has made tremendous progress. If you think about it, planes have only been around for 100 years. But I see tremendous potential in space as well, not just in satellite, but also space exploration. I think we are now starting a new phase of commercial exploration of space with tremendous opportunities.
Europe in particular has now new.
Europe is doing pretty well. Of course, the truth of the matter is the United States are ahead of everyone. The United States.
But they're cutting their NASA program now.
Well, they spend in other ways. NASA is downgrading or cutting back on some of its spending, but you see the private sector really boosting its investment, which is very exciting. Europe probably spends about 1/10 of what the United States spends in aggregate, both private and commercial, in the area of space. And it's not just navigation, it's also exploration. But Europe is doing well with the European Space Agency, which is, by the way, not entirely European. Canada is a member of the European Space Agency. It's a very, very interesting construction. And Asia is moving very fast and very aggressively in space, both obviously for military and commercial applications.
How you are flying all the way to Mongolia? Tell us. What was your flight?
Well, just fly commercially. In fact, this particular time I flew via Korea. Via Korea this time. But I'm very much looking forward to speaking to my good friend Willie Walsh when I get back to London to see if he might consider a direct connection between London and Ulaanbaatar. And I hope that MIAT will also consider doing the same. There's a lot of potential in that country. I think business between the UK and Mongolia is going to boom. And there should be some good opportunities for airlines.
Well, that the very fact that London Stock Exchange comes to this country, making serious fundamentals of our future great capital market house, I hope very much, and our audience too, I hope very much that it will be bringing more other businesses, including direct flight between London and Ulaanbaatar.
Well, if that's one of the small positive implications, we'll be very pleased. We're very excited about this. We think this is a good opportunity for both countries to cooperate more, to develop their joint interests. And we're certainly very excited about contributing to the development of the Mongolian economy through a more optimized and efficient capital market, and to working with our friends, very much looking forward to working with our friends at the Mongolian Stock Exchange. So thanks for having me here tonight.
Thank you very much. Let it happen in the way we describe it. All the best and good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Thank you.